So this weekend, Tom Cruise's latest midlife crisis film, Jack Reacher: Never Go Back, has come out. I wasn't able to go see it, but I thought this was a great opportunity to talk about Tom Cruise's best action roles. See, what makes it interesting that we would talk about Tom Cruise's action roles is that for the first 20 years of his career, he wasn't really known as an action star. I mean, back in the 80s, he had Top Gun, where he flew a jet and shot at Russians. But then he was doing Born on the 4th of July, he was doing Cocktail, into the 90s, A Few Good Men, Interview with a Vampire, The Firm, and then in 1995-ish, he does the first Mission Impossible movie. But even in that, he doesn't punch a bunch of people, he doesn't shoot a bunch of people, he's just kind of the spy thriller guy for the most part in that movie. It wasn't really until the last 10 years where he has a steady stream of action roles where you watch him and think, wow, that guy can really beat people up. Which of course is ironic because, as we all know, Tom Cruise isn't exactly this big, gigantic athlete. But that hasn't stopped him from putting out some great action movies and having a bunch of great action roles. So let's do a couple of runner-ups. Number one, Jack Reacher, the character that actually sparked this video. So the first Jack Reacher, he plays, well, Jack Reacher, and in the books, Jack Reacher is 6'5", 230 pounds. Tom Cruise is neither of those things. It doesn't matter. In that movie, he's still awesome and beats the crap out of a bunch of guys. There's a few scenes in it where he has to take them on physically, and he handles it so well. He's so good at physical stunts and physical acting that he can sell it. Even though he is not actually the size of the character, it does not matter because you believe him on screen, and that's an actor's job, and he does a great job at it. From the trailers, it looks like that trend is continuing, and he beats up even more people in the second one. Actually, it seems like that's all they advertised the second movie on, is Tom Cruise beats up a bunch of guys, hence why I think he might be having a midlife crisis right now. Second runner-up is John Anderton from Minority Report. Now, I think of that movie more as a Steven Spielberg adventure sci-fi film than a Tom Cruise action vehicle, but it doesn't change the fact that in the role, he's kind of in chases, he's getting in fistfights, shootouts, he's very active, and it's a very enjoyable film. It's not super high up on my list, but I cannot deny that it is a very solid action adventure where Tom Cruise puts out a great performance as an action star once again. Now on to our list. Number 3 is Nathan Algren from The Last Samurai. If you're not familiar with this film, essentially it's the Avatar plotline. You know how people picked on Avatar for being the same thing as Dances with Wolves and Ferngully and Pocahontas? The Last Samurai is that same plot where a white guy goes primitive and takes on the advanced modern world and learns the beautiful ways of the primitive world. That's this movie, except he goes to Japan. He's a Civil War guy that's sent to train the cities on how to fight against the rebels, and then he ends up with the rebels and viewing the beauty of their culture and training with them, and gets to be awesome. So as the movie starts out, he's a very broken man over the horrible things that he did during the Civil War, and it haunts him. So basically, he's an alcoholic that just gets hired to train these people, that he takes the job just because he has no other reason not to. So he's awesome with the gun. He's very capable as a soldier, but he's a very lost and broken man. So when he finds the beautiful culture of the samurai, he kind of falls in love with what they are and what they stand for and trains with them. And there's these awesome scenes where he's trying to sword fight against some of the samurai early on and just gets the crap kicked out of him. But the fact that he won't give up kind of earns their respect a little bit. And then throughout the movie, he has to make choices along the way as to where his allegiance lies and whether he's with the modern world when he can go back, or is he going to try and help the samurai. And just go watch the movie. It's a great movie. I love it. The fight choreography is very well done, and it's shot in a way that you can see everything that's going on, and you can see Tom Cruise is actually doing this stuff, and it's very convincing. And as he grows throughout the movie and learns how to use a sword and stuff, very enjoyable film. I really like this movie. Of the Avatar subgenre of movies, that's this white man goes primitive type thing, this is my favorite of the bunch. It's very well done. I really like it. And you get to see Tom Cruise as an angry drunk soldier that finds a purpose once again, and also can shoot people, can fight with a sword, and he's a tough guy that is not afraid of dying. Speaking of tough guys that aren't afraid of dying, that brings us to our next choice, William Cage from Edge of Tomorrow. Now, he, at the beginning of this movie, is a wimp who is terrified of dying, and that's what makes this movie so interesting, is that he's playing against type. He's not playing the brave hero hero. He's not playing the guy that has it all together, that's a great soldier. He's a wimp. He's an idiot. He's a failure. He's a phony. He's just the face of the military, and then he finds himself forced into serving. He tries to desert, tries to run off, and he has to go into battle. And because of the plot of the movie, where things there's a time loop thing going on, throughout the course of the movie, you see him transform into someone else. He changes and becomes the hero. And in this case, instead of him using a sword, you get to see him using a mech suit. Now, to be honest, when I saw the first pictures for this movie and it showed Tom Cruise running in a mech suit, I looked at it and was like, oh my goodness, that looks bad. The movie was called All You Need Is Kill at the time, and I thought that was a stupid title. And then they changed it to Edge of Tomorrow, and I was like, I don't know what that means. I guess it's better. Kind of soap opera sounding, but I guess it's better. And then I put the trailers out and I was like, okay, generic, sad, somber movie about the end of the world. And there's this song playing in it. And the song gives the absolute wrong tone for this movie. Like, you see that trailer and you think it's going to be like just dire and depressing and sad, and then you watch the movie and it's fun and it's funny and it plays the time loops for laughs or like jokes that would otherwise be really dark are really funny because you know that he's just coming back to life. And it's such a great movie that's actually rewatchable, even though it's a time loop movie, so you would think it wouldn't be very rewatchable. And like I said, what makes the movie so enjoyable is seeing Tom Cruise go from this guy that's so not his usual characters, that's such a failure, he's just an actor pretending to be a soldier, to by the end of it, he's this awesome soldier that's just taking guys out in his mech suit. No matter what he has to do, he can pull it off. And it's really kind of an origin story of this awesome warrior. But of course, Tom Cruise's most awesome action role is Ethan Hunt from the Mission Impossible films. And what makes this character so awesome is that they very wisely used the character differently in each film. Like if you watch the first film, I don't think he shoots a gun or punches anyone in the face in the whole movie. Like maybe a couple punches, maybe one gunshot. But it's not a movie filled with big, gigantic action sequences in the way that you sometimes think of big action movies. But you leave the movie thinking that guy's awesome. And he has done big stunt work. So you see him as the spy guy. That they have this awesome sequence that's so tense at Langley where he lowers down from the ceiling. And the scene is all about silence and not making a single sound. And that's what it's all about. And it's incredible. And just even though he's not throwing punches and shooting guns, you can see the physicality in it because of having like dangle like this over the floor, and he pulls it off beautifully. It's a wonderful sequence in this movie. And then it ends with this train fight chase sequence where he's trying to grab a guy. There's a helicopter chasing a train and they're on top of it. And even though the sequence is 20 years old, it still holds up quite well. You get to the second movie, not as good as the first, as any of the other ones. It's the weakest of all of them. That's pretty universally agreed upon, and I would totally agree with that. But still, the second movie is an interesting misstep in that suddenly it's a John Woo movie. And you've got the motorcycles, the shades, the slow-mo, and you got the dubs, and you got the slow-mo martial arts moves, which is interesting because John Woo was known for shootout movies, not martial arts movies. Still, I don't care because you get to see Tom Cruise doing these cool flippy things in slow-mo. There's a stunt where they like stab a knife down, and apparently Tom Cruise actually did that. Like he was laying on the ground and they had a knife that had like a chain to it so it could only go so far down, but still they grabbed this thing and when you see this knife just within centimeters of his eye, he did that because Tom Cruise commits to his characters, and when he does an action role, he does an action role. So he almost had his eye poked out. He was scaling a mountain at the beginning of the movie for no reason other than to have Tom Cruise scaling a mountain, which apparently he actually did. And you move on to the third one, and he's working with the team a lot more. You see him running. In the movie, they use the KC fighting method, which is the fighting method that Christopher Nolan decided to use for Batman Begins, and I believe the other movies as well. And it was like, so you get to see him as a street fighter now, especially at the end fight where his head's about to explode and he's still like beating this guy up. The fourth film, of course, has that awesome scene where he scales the outside of a building. I saw it in IMAX, and I'll tell you, that sequence is the best sequence I have ever seen in a movie theater. It was absolutely jaw-dropping to see that for the first time in an IMAX theater, like a true IMAX, not fake IMAX, not Prime, actual true IMAX. Just jaw-dropping sequence. And that's the stuff that Tom Cruise and his action movies are so good at delivering, is something new and fresh. If you look back over all the movies I've referenced here, every single one of them brings something unique to the table. And the final movie I'm going to reference here, of course, is Mission Impossible 5, where Tom Cruise went, what have I not done yet? What's crazier than scaling a building? Scaling a plane. And so he dangled on the outside of a plane as it took off, which is just incredible, because that's literally the stuff that 20 years ago we were talking about. Only Jackie Chan does stuff that stupid. Only he's a movie star of his caliber, of his size, that would do these types of stunts. And you think you can do this stuff with CGI, you could do this, but there's just something magical about knowing that Tom Cruise, who's not, if you just saw him on the street, you wouldn't think action star. Well, the reason you buy him as an action star is because you know he's learning the KC fighting method. You know he's scaling a building. You know that he is like getting into shape. You know he's learning how to ride a horse and use a sword. You know that he will do all of these crazy things. He will hold his breath underwater. He'll ride the motorcycle. Therefore, Tom Cruise has somehow managed to establish himself as one of the dominant action stars of movie history. He is already established himself as a movie star, but he's one of the action stars, which is pretty incredible that he would be able to do that. And he did it after the age of 40, which is mighty impressive. So you tell me in the comment section. I don't want to just talk about Tom Cruise. I want to talk about Tom Cruise with you. So please tell me in the comment section, what is your favorite Tom Cruise action role? Let's have a great conversation about it. He's had a bunch of them. There's a strong argument for a whole bunch of different roles, and maybe even some I didn't even mention here. Tell me below. Let's talk about it. If you're new to my channel and you've never seen one of my videos before, please consider clicking that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and all my videos will show up right there in your feed, and we can talk again in the future. Thank you much for watching.